Hey everybody, the Bad Pennies are back.
We are indeed.
Hey, I'm Sho. This is my friend Alan. And let's talk about young men becoming grown men. Growing up is the topic, right?
Yeah, growing up. And look, this is not a hand guide, and per se, because we could do a hand guide. But right now we're just going to cover some of the bigger things. And you, if you're a parent of a son at any age, you know that there are at each stage of the game there are challenges.
Yes, there are, and I have sons that are right at that transition right now.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, and just know there's probably going to be a point where they really don't have any interest in hearing anything that you have to say as a father, even though that there are moments where they have to listen anyway because they don't get a choice.
I think they should, fathers. I mean, I do it myself. You say it anyway. You say
and hope it sticks.
Even if it doesn't stick at that moment, they'll recall it later. Yeah,
I call it the wet rag syndrome, where you just you soak the wet rag and throw it against the wall and hope it actually sticks. Yeah. And a lot of parenting is like that.
Yeah.
There's certainly plenty of guides and books written, but the truth is that not everything works. Or if you even write a series of things, they're just not going to work every single time, and with every single child.
Right, and also, I mean, not from the parent standpoint, but from the young man standpoint as well. I mean, we can remember when we went through that transition.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, we don't rely. I mean, it's so often we become adults and we forget about the struggles that we went through, and I think that's a really for most of us anyway, it's a really good base of knowledge to draw on. Is what was it like for you when you were the same age, right? Yeah. Now, you may have not gone through the same things that your kids are going through, but you know that there were challenges for you, and there are challenges for them. In fact, arguably in this culture, the challenges for kids growing up have really multiplied in many ways.
I think so.
And I know that almost every generation says that about the one coming up, but it's probably true. And it's probably been true for a long time.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about let's kind of break it down to a couple of things. I'm not going to get into like a whole stages of father-son relationship, right? I'm not going to get into that. We can do that some other time. But what we can talk about really is your job at certain points.
Your responsibilities, the things that you're supposed to take care of in life.
Yes, your duty. Remember, we've talked about this in the past, that the guiding, concepts here are duties, responsibilities, and obligations.
Yep.
And it's all, and that all is part of the conversation of being committed. So when you're a father, I presume that you're committed. If you're watching this to see what we have to say about being a father, it's because you're a committed father. And you want to be able to do the best job you can do.
Yeah.
In fact, all fathers do, even the bad ones, right? Or at least, or arguably the bad ones,
right? Because
fathers have their flaws and challenges and difficulties.
Nobody's perfect,
but they. I think one common thing for most all fathers is that they want only the best for their sons.
Most,
and for their kids, right?
There are some that really
may lose sight of that because they're just so caught up in their own stuff.
Yeah.
But my experience, even with ones that are caught up a lot in their own stuff, they still ultimately want what's best for their kids. They just don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
So, or their challenges are precluding them from being able to do that.
Right.
So but let's just talk about the conversation at least when they're younger.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're talking about
formative time.
17, 25.
2 to 9.
Oh, way back then. Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk 2 to 9 or 10.
Okay.
So, because I know that we have men here that are going to have children at multiple ages.
Okay. Sure.
And we'll keep it simple, right? We'll just, like I said, we're not going to turn this into a handbook. We're just going to talk a little bit about what is the sort of context that you need to hold.
Right.
All right. So during that period, this is a time where they're probably still listening to you.
Yeah, 2 to 9. Yeah.
In fact, they want to hear what you have to say.
They're curious.
But
they want to learn.
Most importantly, is that they're watching you.
Yeah.
They're watching every single move you make, everything that you do, from your standards, your character, and the quality of your relationship with your wife,
Okay.
with their mother. All right, and during, they say psychologically that by the time we're 2 years old, almost all of the basic patterns in the brain have already formed.
2? I thought it was like 5 or something.
Yeah, it's actually, they keep making it younger and younger. So look, I'm not a psychologist, so we'll just say that somewhere between the time you're born and you're 5 years old, pretty much lifetime patterns get set in the brain.
Okay.
So how you conduct yourself when they're really little is incredibly important. And there's no way to tell what they're getting until they're older.
Okay. So
a lot older.
So for a father of a young son, it's more important to be an example,
yes,
than it is to like give a lecture and a lesson.
Well, it's never ever unimportant. It's just probably the most critically important during the period from the time they're born until they're 5 years old, that you are living at your best, that you're living at your best in terms of character and in terms of standards in your life, and in terms of and when I say character, I mean quality of character, all those things that that describe you as a man at your best.
Okay.
Right, the man that you have decided that you want to be.
Yeah. So you go out and you be the man that you want to be, and your kid's going to watch that happen.
Yeah. And that means, that look, it doesn't mean that things don't happen to you when you're being your best, right? Life is life. Life's unpredictable. Good things happen, bad things happen. It's not what happens to you during that time. It's how you handle it. And how you handle yourself during, especially some of the challenges, will make all the difference. Because again, that developing brain is registering all of it.
Okay.
All right. And it's making decisions about everything.
All right.
And it's making decisions about everything without any information to make decisions about it.
Okay.
All right. Because that's part of, also, we'll talk about it in a later stage, as we grow up, that we have to actually forgive ourselves a lot of times for decisions that we made when we were little, that were really, I would say, not the best decisions about life, but we didn't have any perspective. See, when you're a child, you don't have any perspective. You don't have life experience. All you have is what you see in front of you, and how your parents are being.
Okay.
Right. That's all you got. So that, and knowing that they don't have anything to be able to not, and we forget, because we've got life experience, and so when we make decisions about how we're being or what we're doing, it's backed up with years of life experience, right? But children don't have that. Younger children don't have that. They're all they have is what they immediately get, and then they make decisions about it. And sometimes they're really, not the best decisions.
Okay.
Right? I know that even, a few years back, I thought I had pretty much resolved. I mean, I'm in my late 60s now, and resolved all of childhood stuff, which is part of the job, by the way. Part of our job becoming adults is to resolve your childhood issues, both with yourself and with your parents, and everything that happened. So, and I thought I had done a very good job, but I actually put myself into a seminar situation that dealt with those things. And what came up for me was that I had actually resolved my issues with everyone but myself.
Okay.
Okay. So just know that you cannot control how your children perceive what you do.
Okay, you can show them
But
what you want to show
can't
them.
control the decisions they make about it.
So as a father of a young son, it's good for you to be the example that you want to set for your son.
And that's the best you can do.
And that's it.
That's it.
They're going to interpret it how they interpret it, but you're going to show them.
They
what
are
you want
going to
show them.
interpret it at their own perception level, and There's nothing you can do about it, no matter what. And look, as they get older, they may come to you because if they're confused about things, and hopefully that they feel safe to do that.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about this next stage too, because that's a period where that can actually happen, where you can sit down with them. So think about, like, I hate to use a really dated example, but like the Brady Bunch, where the parents always had the, son, when I was your age, or life is like this, son.
Okay.
Well, you know what? I'm not sure that works in real life. It works great on TV. In a sitcom, it's wonderful. It feels good. It sounds good.
Yeah.
I
think my generation would have been different strokes.
Yeah. Whatever. And then the one before, Brady Bunch might have been, My Three Sons and stuff like that.
Yeah, I definitely
right?
didn't watch that.
But there's always been that kind of stuff. The thing is that that's a TV show.
Yeah.
It's a TV show.
It's giving you like some kind of a formulaic example of what could possibly be.
With a moral agenda.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It has a moral agenda.
Right.
And I think the moral agenda is more effective with adults than it is with actually the kids.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Because I don't know anybody that said, I learned how to live my life by watching, My Three Sons or some parent-child, family show. Right. Okay. So I in fact, I can't think of anything that I learned from any of that stuff growing up.
Maybe it was subliminal.
Maybe. I mean, arguably.
Who knows? Who
the fuck?
There was an agenda.
Who knows? Right.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that what they get from you as a child is the most influential. You and your wife.
Okay.
As parents, and then of course grandparents, other siblings. There's lots of influences, but at least in those first 5 or 6 years, the parents are the primary influence on their developing brains.
Okay, so for a kid growing up with no father in the house, they need to have other male role models in their life. It's really important.
Well,
right?
I think that would be very good. But remember that you can't. There's no matter how many male role models they have, it won't make up for not having a father.
Okay, but some fathers pass away. Some fathers.
Look, real life is real life,
yeah.
and sometimes it's tragic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And at some point later in their life, they will have to do some work.
Yeah.
To figure out and let go of all the stressors and things that were put upon them because they were in not necessarily the most ideal situation.
Okay.
Sometimes a mother has to take. Look, we're on the side. I mean, this is a podcast for men, right? Mm-hmm. So we're on your side to be the best men you can be great fathers. But we also know that there are men out there that are not particularly good fathers. When they're doing things that are a danger to the children, the mother has to take them away. Same thing on the other side. If the mother is being operating in a way that poses a threat, danger to the children, it's time to get them away from her. In our culture, that's easier said than done. But
for mothers, yeah.
But the thing is that anytime either of the parents are behaving in a way that poses a danger to children, they shouldn't be there.
Right.
But there is still a price when they're not there, and in many cases, by the way, it's been proven psychologically that even messed up, as long as they're not a danger to the children, it's actually better for them psychologically than to not be there. The absence is actually one of the worst things that can happen. So go look it up. I mean, don't just believe me. Go look it up online, psychology books or whatever. It's all there. But we're not here to preach psychology. We're just talking about what works. So that's the first section. Now, do we want to stop here and then do another podcast?
I think we should.
All right. So that's tantalizing because we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the sort of the next period after 5.
Okay. So just to recap what we're doing right now, we're talking about like until 5. We're talking about young boys from like
5,
toddler
6,
to 5.
7,
Okay.
5, 6, 7, maybe 8.
The best thing is to be an example. Be the example that you want them to see. Right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Be who you want them to become.
Bam.
All right. If you want nothing but the best for your children, you want them to be, and I always think of things like being self-sufficient and independent and resourceful and powerful and
Consistency.
consistent.
Yeah.
All of these qualities that we think about: reliable,
Discipline.
disciplined, trustworthy, respectful, all of those things.
Yeah.
You have to be all of those things in order for them to have the best chance of becoming all of those things without a lot of extra work. All right, because you can actually eliminate some of the work process or the workload for them, and again, it's still ultimately a crapshoot.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, because you at some point all you can do is hope that they gleaned that stuff for themselves as they become an adult. And this is your opportunity right from the start. Is what you're always doing is preparing them.
Okay.
All right, to leave home and to be able to negotiate life. So
you start that at that early of an age is when you start preparing them for the world.
Yeah. So come back with the next one, and we'll talk about sort of a period as they're getting a little bit older and a little bit feistier.
Okay, here we go. So the Bad Pennies will be back.
See ya.